wasn't doing the Catholic thing. I just needed to make sure my glasses were here. Wow, wow, wow. You know, I've never ceases to amaze me how I come in here, and I do believe, like you do, that there's something different. I told Allie at the door, that Pastor Allie, that there's something robust happening here. I don't know what it is, but it doesn't seem like there's a ton more people, but it just feels like there's something that's happening. And so you're right about that. I was sitting in my car, and this is what the Lord inspired me to say today. It matches your songs that you've been singing. One of the things I do have to do is give a shout out to my sister. God bless you, Debbie. Thank you for caring for our family. The song that you just sang was one of the ones I gave to her because we were having some challenges with our family, and I said, you know, this is what God's going to do for our family, and so you do need to pray that over your family. But this is a song, it's called It's Not Over. It's by Israel Houghton. But the words that the Lord wants you to hear today, it says, it's not over. It's not finished. It's not ending. It's only the beginning. When God is in it, all things are new. When God is in it, there is no limit. It's not over until God says so. And so I don't know who needs to hear that today, but there's someone in this room God is speaking that right into your soul. You need to say that over your family. It's not over until God says so. You need to say that over your future. It's not over until God says so. It's not over. And so if something has been written in your life that doesn't look like what you wanted it to look like, it's not over until God says so. It's not over. And so if you're in a journey of healing, if you're in a journey and moving forward, if you're in a journey, it's not over until God says it's over, no matter what it looks like. No matter what it looks like. I believe it's Maria, married to Juan. I kept seeing the Lord, it was kind of cute actually, I kept seeing the Lord draw this little heart. And he had this childlike wonder as he looked at you. And he wanted you to know that he loves you. I know that's very simple, and I know that doesn't mean a lot, but I feel like it means something to you. There's something about the way he drew it that's important. It was just this real sweet joy, and that's what he wants to tell you today. That's what his heart is saying towards you today. Karina, the little guy with you in the black jacket, he's absolutely a seer. He sees things from God. And so he has the ability to see angels. He has the ability to see the spiritual. I don't know if he's a sensitive little child, but the reality is follow that sensitivity. Don't lose track of it. Because what happens is when we have children that are seers, sometimes they get more scared than other kids, but sometimes they also have a lot more joy than other kids. And that's because they're able to see the beauty of what God's doing. The kid is absolutely a seer. I could see him just having these tunnels of the ability to see coming right out of his eyes. It was really beautiful, actually, just sitting back there. Sometimes I just sit back there so I can see what God's saying. Shelby, you were dancing with your baby, and we had a great little moment there. You telling me he's 1 year old, but as you were dancing, there were angels actually worshiping around you, in like little circles around you, and it was almost like your worship was more like, I think I've had this for you before. It was almost like I could see you in this worship dress. I love this image, but it's like this white dress, and you're doing all these moves, and you weren't doing that. You were just kind of hanging out there with the little man. But I could see you doing that, and that the angels were just exaggerating your worship, making it be more profound around you, and just as it is towards heaven. So thank you for that. I believe for the lady over here I had a couple of weeks ago, it was really interesting. I actually got this word before I came. But a couple weeks ago or a couple months ago, I had this word for you, that you had a satchel and you were just putting out letters like this. And before I came today, as I was waking from my nap, I saw this, and the Lord said to say to you, you are a dispenser of fan mail from heaven. That when you give out those letters and you give them out with rapid speed, that you're giving the heart of heaven towards people as encouragement towards them. You're an encourager from God, and those letters are actually, because I always ask God, what are those letters? That's so weird. But it was like fan mail. He said, tell her that's fan mail from heaven, that she's a dispenser of the fan mail from heaven. Okay, that's all I have right now. Now I got to speak. God is so good. You know, it's interesting, too, the words that I got today, it wasn't the direction I was going to go with the message, but I absolutely think that this is the direction that it has to go today because of the words that came. If you will turn with me, if you will, we're going to look at the book of Numbers, chapter 27, verse 1 through 11. And it's not a really talked about story very much. In fact, this story is rare. I've never heard a message on this story. But there are 5 daughters of a man named Zelophehad. And these 5 women are super courageous. They come at a point of their pain, their deep pain. They come before the nation of Israel. And they beseech God for something that is rightfully theirs. You know, this week I got asked to do the invocation at an event for farm workers. And this is probably one of the passages that the God gave me, because what happens is that you're in a situation where you're building the infrastructure of the United States, and yet you're not validated by the people that are blessed by your hands. And you know, this is the story of these 5 women. They come from the line of Joseph. They come from the line of Manasseh. They come from the line of Gilead. We know all of those stories. Joseph is the guy who was the dreamer, who had the colored coat, who got thrown into jail, but then saved a whole nation through a famine. Manasseh is the tribe of people that when they were entering into the promised land, there were giants on the other side, and they were the ones who fought the giants so that everybody could go in freely. These 5 daughters of Zelophehad come from that line. People who have worked for the nation to bring them into the promise. People who have worked for that. And God is going to meet these 5 women at the place of destiny. In the book of Numbers, chapter 27, verse 1, it says, "One day a petition was presented by the daughters of Zelophehad. Their father, Zelophehad, was a descendant of Hephar, son of Gilead, son of Machir, son of Manasseh, son of Joseph." You know, it's interesting. I don't know if I ever did this. I've done this message before. I don't know if I did it here. But the reality is that when God names people in the Bible, it has purpose. It not only has purpose because each of us hold a destiny, but it has purpose because it shows a connection, right? We need to know that we are in a long line of destiny of a family. We talked about this before here, that you're in a generational line that carries things. But you have a specific destiny in that line. And so when that list is saying, that's a point of connection. There's no choice that you make in your life that's not corporate. So if I choose to come to Hope Ministry, South San Francisco, it affects a lot of people other than just me. Right? There's nothing that you do in isolation, not one thing. I had someone tell me the other day, you know, I'm doing something. It was really interesting. I was so surprised when it just has stuck with me since the person said it. It was like a couple days ago. They said, you know, I'm doing this thing, but it's not really affecting other people. And it's okay because it's not affecting, I'm not harming other people. And I thought to myself, that is the strangest thing I've ever heard. It's harming you, and it's harming God. And it's harming anybody that knows you because they love you. And so never think that anything that you do is in isolation. You're a very corporate person, and we're going to see that in this passage. Everything we do is corporate. Everything we do is corporate. Now, these beautiful women, they had a leadership legacy, right? If Joseph is their great-great-great-great-great-grandfather, that's in their family line, right? So there's sometimes that our moment of destiny will be just like our legacy line, and there's times when we just need to step into it, that it has nothing to do with the generational blessing, but it has everything to do with the moment of time God has us for what He wants us to do. It's not over until God says so. It's not over until God said so. So they were taking a census. They were living between, these 5 women were living between the consequence of their parents, and their choices moving forward, right? The consequence was that these people did not believe in God. They were not going to enter into the promised land, but their children would. They are the children. They're the children that are going to get put into the promised land. They are the children that are going to inherit the land. That is their place of belonging. So if they don't get that inheritance, their name no longer belongs. This is the point at which we understand inheritance is our place of belonging. When you come into Jesus, you are inheriting family rights of belonging. And so you need to know that if that's stripped of you, because you choose not to take it, you're choosing not to belong. And so that's why sometimes we feel so lonely, right? So these women stood before Moses, they stood before Eleazar the priest, the tribal leaders, and the entire community at the entrance of the tabernacle. These women came to the right place at the right time. They came there and they asked of the religious leaders if they could have a petition, a time of space. But what's cool about that is they also came right to the place where God meets people. You know, they took something that was important. We'll see what their petition is in a minute, but they came right to the perfect place. Our father died in the wilderness, they said. He was not among Korah's followers who rebelled against the Lord. He died because of his own sin, but he had no sons. Why should the name of our father disappear from his clan just because he had no sons? Give us property along with the rest of our relatives. You see what's happening here is they wandered for 40 years in the wilderness. When they got to the promised land, they were supposed to be promised land based on their family name. But it always went to the men at this point in time. Sorry, ladies, more ladies in this room than men, but that's how it was at that point. That was the law. And so they're saying, they came with this petition and said, you know what? There's no sons in our family. Why should our family name be blotted out? Why should we not have inheritance? Why should we not be at a place at which we belong? They were at a point of real pain. They were at a point at which they would lose everything if this did not change. They were at a point at which they would no longer be part of the community or belong. There's times when we have pain in our lives that we're at a moment of pain. If we're people that hide in the midst of pain, we will not get to the voice of our destiny. Right? We need to be people that don't run from pain. We need to be people that don't hide from pain. We need to be people that go to the appropriate resources to ask the appropriate questions, to get the appropriate answers so that our pain will be resolved. You see, they were at a moment of destiny. Their pain drove them to a moment of destiny. You need to allow your pain to drive you to a moment of destiny. Because they knew the history, they knew the law. They knew that in the law they would lose everything, but they also knew the history. Our dad was not part of those people that shouldn't win this. You see, there was this group of people and they rebelled. And they lost everything. But they said, you know what? I don't want that for my life. You know, there's a bunch of us in this room that we're living counter the way our family raised us. Right? We might have had horrible things happen in our family. We might have had things that we didn't like. We might have had things that have happened to us that are horrible. And we're on a course to change that. If you at any point have that in your life, you need to know that God started that conversation. He put that in you. If He put that in you, it's not over, it's not finished until God says so. And so you stay on that course. Even though it fights against everything in your generations, it fights against everything you know, it fights against all the decisions of consequence of your family, stay on the course. Because it's not over. It's not finished. When God is in it, there's no limit. When God is in it, there's no limit. And so you have to know that these women are at the point of pain. They're grieving. We're going to lose everything. If we don't say something, we're losing everything. And it's not because people around us hate us. It's because that's what the law says. They might not even understand it. You know, sometimes people do things in innocence they don't even know. They just follow the rules. But they don't realize how it affects you. And until you raise your voice in the point of your pain and you bring people to a sense of consciousness, these are the original organizers. You ever know community organizers? They just have all this passion. They want to move people to understand. They want to do. These are the original community organizers. They come at the point of their pain. They come at a moment of destiny. And they use their voice to raise the consciousness of a culture so that the culture acts in a way that is responsible. Don't you think it's God's heart that He wants everyone to belong? So why is this tension here? God, what's happening? You think God made the law wrong? No. This is a moment of destiny. This is a moment of destiny. And so it says, they knew who they were. You know, this is interesting. If we are people that are only concerned about destiny, and we don't know who we are, we're going to pursue our destiny, so what we do becomes who we are. Think about that. What you do should not become who you are. Never. Right? Because then it means you'll only work for, someone else will decide who you are, someone else will have the reward, someone else will have the parameter. But if you start to connect on who you are in your destiny line, who you are created for this moment, who you are in these different things, that when you step into that moment, it will not define you, but it will open doors for you. But if you work only for destiny, and you put your destiny before you heal your identity, you will become what you do. So if I'm a pastor, that's who I am. That's all I am. If that's true, there's very little part of my life that defines me then. You need to know who you are to God is most important. They were daughters. They were in a legacy line. They were so many more things than other than this moment of pain. Them coming here was not who they are. I feel like God's saying this to you, young man. He's saying this to you. He's saying to you that it's not about your destiny, it's about finding your identity. I feel like since the beginning, God's telling me that He's going to heal your identity. He's healing you. And not only is He healing you, but He's telling you that He's setting you on a course. And the course that He's setting for you on is going to break the pain for many people, but you got to stay on the course. And don't make the course the main issue. Heal your heart. I don't know anything about you, but God's really got you on a path. But it's all about healing your heart and healing your identity. Because otherwise you will become what you do, and that's not who you are. That's not who you are. God's breaking off all kinds of legacy things with you. I've seen it since I was sitting back there. I've seen it for a while. So God is concerned about your identity. You need to know who you are. These moments affirm the identity. You know, this is interesting. You know, it's like the law was written so that all the men would get the different things. And you know, God didn't make a mistake. God created an opportunity for a creative solution. He really did. He created an opportunity that said, you know, this is what's happening, and these 5 women don't match this. I'm going to create an opportunity for them to use their point of destiny for voice. And so what happens is now they come to this place, they give this petition, and now they have to decide what's going to do. They go to the point and to the place where God is. And you see, God is the God of hope. And if He's really the God of hope, then He's going to take this very painful situation, this very hopeless situation, and He's going to turn it around. And so now these women are poised in a moment, right before all the leaders, right before God. What are we going to do? You see, these issues only came to Moses after they went through all the other people. Remember, there was this thing where Jethro set up so that they could go to lower leaders, they could understand the law, they could go to different leaders up until this point, and then the very most important things were brought to Moses. And so here they are before the delegation, and here they are to do this thing. And so God creates this moment, this vacuum for them to step into in their identity of who they are, what they come with. Our pain should drive us to the God of hope. In the book of Romans, chapter 15, verse 13, this is one of my favorites. I've used this many times here before. But it says this, thanks. Now may the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace in believing. You know, people that have lost hope, belief is one of the things that they struggle with, right? And so God restores belief. He restores belief so that you will abound in hope by the power of the Holy Spirit. These women needed hope. They were them against the nation. They were a small band of women in a culture that didn't honor women. If there's something that you're feeling called to that you think is bigger than you, don't feel like you can't step into that moment if God leads you, because it's not over until God says it's over. And if God is in it, there is no limits. This thing I'm doing on Tuesday, I can't even believe that I was asked to do it. But the coolest, I got to tell you how cool it is. When I was a kid, I told you a story before, I used to pass a lot of migrant workers, and it would just break my heart because I knew they weren't being paid what they were worth. I knew many of the people might not be documented so that they could be taken advantage of. And even as a kid, I knew this was crazy. And then I would take the bus to school 40 minutes, and one of the last stops, I would see the men jump into the trucks to get work for the day and be carted out. It was just traumatizing to my soul. And I told God, you know, if there's ever a point at which you have me do something about this is something I want to do with my life. During the 70s, my mom was very conscious. She had us be part of the grape strikes at Safeway. We didn't buy grapes because Cesar Chavez would encourage people not to buy grapes. Dolores Huarte was one of my heroes. And I'm going to give an invocation on Tuesday, and the United Farm Workers are going to be there. How did I get that? I'm sitting at my home. I get this email that says, would you do this? Speaker Pelosi will be there. All these powerful people will be there. It's a day of lobbying, 75 organizations, 60 groups of politicians, whoever. I don't even know who they are. There's no limit. How does this happen? How does this happen? It's a moment of destiny. Someone asked me today, there's a woman at our church, I joke, she goes, how'd you get that? I was like, oh, great. I'm not qualified to, what's up? You know, like, what the heck? You know, like, I knew she was joking. I was joking with her. We have long lines of jokes, but, you know. But that's what God can do. If God's in it, there's no limits. There's no limits. And so they're poised at a moment right before God, right before the delegation. 5 women who are about to lose everything, that are not even validated in this culture. And God says this, the God of hope, who gives them the ability to believe, the God of hope. So Moses brought their case before the Lord. And the Lord replied to Moses, the claim of the daughters of Zelophehad is legitimate. You must give them a grant of land along with their father's relatives. Assign them the property that would have been given to their father. They won. They won. God said they were legit. MC Hammer would have been doing his dance at this point. Right? We had this thing in our church, we do like that. I mean, it's too legit to quit. We kind of do our, you know, it's kind of too, you know, it goes fast. Anyway, Ryan made that up. But God said they were legit. God says your claim and your pain is legit. It's legit. You see, Moses did the right thing. Moses brought it to God. At the point of your pain, you bring it to God. Don't run from your pain. Don't hide from your pain. Bring your pain to God. And God will validate you. He will validate the claim. He will validate your concern. And then He provides the creative solution. They didn't even have to come up with the solution. That's what I'm going to ask for on Tuesday when I give the invocation. I'm going to use these 5 women. Because they stood at a moment of destiny. We're at a moment of time where people that are undocumented can have the rights and the pathways to citizenship. Sorry to bring my agenda here, but it's a passion deep in my heart. And we have the chance to ask for it. There's something you're asking for. It's a point of pain. And God is saying to you, take it to him and let him come up with the creative solution. Because if he's in it, there's no limit. So he said that they would receive the land, and not only that, but to give it to them, or anything that their father was going to get, give it to them. There's the tribe of Manasseh. The tribe of Joseph. They're going to get great land. Give it to them. If you're ever a person, or you're part of a community, which I know is not here, but if you're listening, and you've ever been told as a woman that God doesn't believe that women have a voice, that God doesn't believe that women should be all of these things, can you read this passage again? They speak in the presence of God. They come to the religious leaders, and God says their claim is legitimate. They used their voice, they did it in the presence of all leaders, and God totally validated them, validated their ministry, validated their identity, validated their destiny. Don't ever doubt that as a woman that God's called you to what he's called you to. Don't ever doubt it. 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 Guys, you're cool and everything, but ladies, don't ever doubt it. Don't ever doubt it. If I can't see you and you're a woman, God, don't doubt it. These are passages that balance all of that negative rhetoric. Because these women, what happened in that day, changed the course of inheritance from that moment forward. From that moment forward, all daughters would receive an inheritance in the land, and it actually affects the laws the way they're done today. Inheritance laws are based back to this time, 2,000 plus years later. If God's in it, there's no limit. I couldn't figure out why he had me listen to that song all week. But if God's in it, there's no limit. And not only that, they have the courage to come back later and say, hey, when we get married, where's our land going? Is it going to the other tribe or is it going to ours? And they just keep asking because they have the courage now. So at your points of pain, ask God what, why, how, what is he going to do? Don't run from them. Don't hide from them. Go to the God of hope and ask him, what is my identity? What is my destiny? I want to know who I am. I want to know what you're doing. And from that point forward, allow him to give you the creative solution. I feel like I'm supposed to say this. We do not have to come up with the creative solution. We try so hard at that. We don't. You see, God is the one who said, you know what? Not only are they cool ladies, he didn't say that part, but I added that. Not only are they cool, but their claim is legit, and this is what you will do going forward. He didn't make a mistake in the law. He created a moment for destiny. You have to know if your point of pain and God is giving you a voice in a place that just seems like you're the only one who sees it. There's something happening. Don't walk away from that. Don't shrink. You got to know who you are in that moment. If you're living in a family where you're the different one from everyone else, there is a reason. What is the reason, right? Right? Destiny moment, right? Sorry, I'm not busting you out. Destiny moment. Ask God why. He's not offended by that. Ask him why. And then when he gives you the creative solution, you follow it. You know, I'm one of the first Christians in my family. My sister and I, we came at the same time. We were different. It went against everything we were taught was, we didn't go against it, but we had to go against our mom to do it. Why? Because this is my destiny. You got to know who you are. Because if you don't know who you are, when that destiny moment comes, you'll cower to the pressure of it. You'll cower. You won't step into it. You allow your pain to overcome you. You allow the voices around you to silence you. You allow all these things to overcome you. I don't know if I told this story here, but I was at a school, it's actually my Bible college, and there was a person there who was doing not very great things. Have I told this story here before? Oh, okay. All right. Anyway, sometimes I think about what I'm saying in light of the video. The recording. I'm old. And I was at the school, and I was in a place of leadership. And one of the leaders at the school was doing some really bad stuff. And I went to the administration, and I said to them, this is really wrong. You need to do something about this. And then nobody listened. And it kept happening 2-3 times. And so finally, I decided, you know what? I've done what I can do. That's it. I'm not wiping my hands of it, but they clearly don't want to deal with it. I'll just back myself out and challenge everybody that gets involved with this person not to do that. About 5 years later, I get a request to go back and coach at this school. And I told him, well, I won't coach unless you heal this one circumstance. There was 2 things, that one. And then I said, I did. They did, and I coached. And it was really cool. Actually, it was a reconciliation moment. So one day, I'm sitting in the cafeteria while I'm waiting for the basketball coaching to start. I got there early, and I was hungry. And one of the professors comes up to me, and she says, I want to ask you about your relationship with this person that was over you before. I was like, no, I'm good. I'm not talking about it. And she was like, why? I said, well, because I tried, and it doesn't go anywhere, and I'm not going to waste my time anymore. It's over. Whatever. And she said, no. She said, I need you to talk about it, and not only that, but I'm bringing a case against the person, and we're going to get that person out of here. And within a split second, minute of time, it was more than a minute, but it was within months, that person was removed. Just because people don't listen, it doesn't mean that's not what God's calling you to. And it doesn't mean that it's over. It's not over. If God is in it, there's no limit. It's over. It's not finished. If God is in it, there's no limit. Now, this person has gone on to other institutions and done this 2 other times. But every time, God stops it. You see, God wants what He wants, and He uses people, and sometimes it comes at the point of your pain. And if it comes at the point of your pain and you hide, that destiny moment passes right by. It doesn't mean it can't come back again. And I'm not that person that says, if you missed it, it's over, you should feel guilty for the rest of your life. I hate that in Christianity. That is not true. If God is in it, there's no limits. He will come back around. He will teach you. He will bring you to it. If He wants you to do it, you will be the person. And then if you don't do it, rocks will cry out. So don't worry, it hasn't missed you. Just go listen to the rocks. I like that one. That was kind of funny. Yeah, go listen to the rocks. Maybe that's where a real rock group... no, just joking. That's kind of bad. Bad mom humor. If God's in it, there's no limits. Go to the God of hope. Know who you are. Know your destiny. Don't pursue your destiny without knowing who you are, because then you become who you are. Then what you do becomes who you are. And you don't want that. That's why people work years and years and years at a job they hate. And they try to find everybody's attention in the process because they are trying to be who their destiny is rather than be who they are. Wow. Well, God bless you all. God bless you. God bless you. Amen.